Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg. First, Dave, big picture. This does seem like, especially in recent weeks, more and more members of the judiciary are saying not so fast to President Trump, that even though Congress has largely abdicated its powers, the federal bench has not. And on Friday, he was delivered a couple of stinging rebukes.
Yeah. Jonathan, federal judges don't like being told what to do. It's different for Congress. You know, Congress depends on the president, especially if you're a Republican, to avoid any primary challenger. But when it comes to members of the judiciary, they've got lifetime appointments. And so it really doesn't matter when Trump goes after them. They wear the black robes. You have to stand up when they walk into the room. They carry that gavel. So they don't like to be told that they have no power. And so I'm not surprised they're pushing back. And we've seen that from judges appointed by Democrats and Republicans alike, including from President Trump. And Trump will go after them. But what are the stages of grief? You've got denial and then anger and then acceptance. And it seems like Trump is now at acceptance because he's saying that, fine, he's going to let Congress deal with the Kennedy Center. In fact, he's going to cancel his concert. And so I think it's a good thing for our democracy because the legislative branch, Article 1, has abdicated its role, as you correctly said. They have self-emasculated. But in the meantime, one branch of government has stood up and provided the guardrails that our democracy needs, and that is the judiciary.
So, Dave, let's go a little further. Set aside the Kennedy Center. Trump, at least for now, appears to be throwing in the towel. But let's talk about that weaponization fund. And also, remember, that comes with these possible IRS protections for Trump, his family, his business going forward. Does the administration have any recourse here that you see to revive that?
They can try. I mean, the friendliest court for them has been the U.S. Supreme Court. They're 6-3 conservative majority. I'm not so sure, though, that Chief Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, who are the swing justices there, are going to play ball for Trump on this one because it is so out of the ordinary. I mean, it's so egregious, and it just reeks of corruption. And the fact is that the Department of Justice, when they were supposed to oppose this request for all this money and for all these things that Trump wanted, they didn't even file a motion. They didn't even file a single motion in response to Trump's lawsuit. Instead, they just capitulated and negotiated this deal that does look like insider dealing, and it's something that the courts are going to have to reckon with. I think that as long as this can be postponed until there's a new Congress, then I think it's not going to happen.
So, Dave, lawmakers say that former Attorney General Pam Bondi attempted to distance herself from the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files during her testimony before the House Oversight Committee at the end of last week. In a closed-door meeting on Friday, Bondi, who was fired back in April, declined to answer questions from lawmakers about Trump's involvement in anything connected to the documents and told committee members her former deputy, now acting AG Todd Blanche, that it was he who was responsible for determining which documents would be released, along with repeatedly punting to FBI Director Kash Patel. Democrats say they'll subpoena those two officials next. Bondi also conceded the documents released had redaction errors, which included victims' names and other identifying information, but said the department, in her words, has been committed to accountability and transparency. The interview followed months of negotiations between lawmakers and the former AG, who faced rare bipartisan criticism over the uneven and delayed release of the files that were tied to the convicted sex offender and New York financier. So, Dave, what are some of your thoughts about what we have learned from this closed-door hearing? And is anything sort of worrying in terms of what you think the kind of questions Blanche and Patel may face?
Well, one big takeaway for me, Jonathan, was that former Attorney General Bondi said that Ghislaine Maxwell should die in prison. She previously said the same thing back in February to the House Judiciary Committee, but this time she also reportedly added that Maxwell should not be pardoned. You remember, Trump has never closed the door for a pardon for Maxwell. He seems to hold it over her head while her defense lawyer continues to lobby for it. So even though she's a former AG, I think her opinion on this matters to the president. And I'm not surprised that she apparently said that Todd Blanche had been Trump's point person on the Epstein matter. We began to see Blanche as the public face of this after the kerfuffle involving the right-wing bloggers who held up those binders without any real new information in it. Also, there was the controversy when the former AG mistakenly said that the Epstein list was on her desk instead of the file. That's what she meant. And it was Todd Blanche who interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell for 9 hours outside her prison cell in Tallahassee and reportedly ordered or at least approved her move to a minimum security facility in Texas where sex offenders are not supposed to be. So I think it's right to say that if you want more information about really what's going on, you need to subpoena Todd Blanche and Kash Patel. After all, they're the ones behind that memo that said there's nothing else to see here. And it is Todd Blanche who said that we're not releasing any more documents despite the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
Former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg. Dave, thank you so much. Elise, certainly is the administration's best efforts to make the Epstein storyline go away. It won't. It will continue to dog them for as long as President Trump is in office. So give us your thoughts on that. And truthfully, I mean, pretty significant setbacks for him on Friday at the hands of the judiciary.
Well, just look at how it's dogging Pam Bondi and has clouded her entire legacy, whatever that might have been. Epstein is going to be first and foremost at the forefront of how we think of her tenure as the top attorney general of the country. But, looking at the different races around the country, this still has repercussions. You look at how it was. I mean, Thomas Massie, it was a big push on his part. And granted, there were other reasons that he got forced out of office and big outside money coming in, but he went against the president. He defied the president. And so you still see the Republicans the women who were willing to vote for this and how Trump has challenged them and they have paid consequences.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so much to dig into about this sort of semi-hearing on Friday. I mean, first of all, she's not under oath. Second of all, she was being represented by a Justice Department lawyer, which is completely unprecedented and insane. She doesn't work for the Justice Department. There's no reason why taxpayers should be paying for that. And of course, it wasn't public. And so we're getting these drips and drabs. She's clearly trying to rehabilitate her image. I mean, it's like the ultimate gaslighting to pass the buck and to say, oh, I was in charge, but I didn't really know. And all these people that were working for me did all this stuff that I didn't know. It just defies